you know what the best performance at Old Trafford is? The one where you get the 3 points. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name's Elliot. If you got me on Twitter, hello, everybody, and welcome to the first post-match podcast of the new season. A new season where, and I want to emphasize this, Arsenal played one, won one, and we've conceded no goals. We're back off, flying, up and running, having beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford, a thing that we didn't used to do much, but we've started to do more. And I, for one, think it's worth enjoying it. I have to say, I am a person who believes performances matter, because ultimately, if you are not a team that plays well, you are not going to win much. But I also believe that winning football matches against your hated rivals away to start the new season is a cause for joy. And so it is an opportunity for us to do the best thing possible. Really soak all the joy out of an important win at a place where we have not historically been great, and also find learning lessons, find interesting analysis that can help us understand where some of the challenges were and how we may improve on that moving forward. So that is, I think, the perfect tee up for what could be a great podcast. And that is, of course, what Arsenal were trying to do. See, they care about their fans. And they know that some of their fans are content creators, are podcasters, and they care about those people too. And we care about you. We had the most fun Friday night Clive imaginable on Friday night. It was fun. We previewed the whole season. We have a power rankings up predicting the entire season and previewing all the business done by the other clubs that are going to finish behind us. So that's brilliant. We're going to do a rewatch of this game. If you've never joined us for a rewatch on the Patreon, what we do is we put the game on the screen so you can see it. And Clive analyzes it, and then I stop it, and I say, he should have made this pass here. And Clive puts his hand on his head, and then he looks back up, and he talks to me like someone he respects, because he does respect me, even though I've said the dumbest thing imaginable. But it's a lot of fun, and you definitely want to see it. We had an instant reaction at full time. The nice thing about the instant reactions, I will tell you, first of all, we live stream them, and then we play the recording, but they're a chance to get in touch with more of the emotional side of how we're feeling about the game, because by the time we do the main pod, obviously, we've all settled down. Hopefully you have as well, and we're here for the analysis. So a little bit of the sweet and the sour. You get all of it, and you can do it for a couple of quid. At AVP50 is the code, and you can try it, see what you think. If you have questions, email me, let me know. That's enough of that. 2 minutes, 23 seconds, and we're in to welcoming Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
How are you?
Not bad. You don't always say dumb stuff, by the way. You say good stuff.
I mean, your mileage may vary. What I would say is that I sometimes do say good stuff, but I think on the rewatches, I am prone to doing the thing where I pause it and say, he could have passed it there. And it's like, you know what, mate? It's not FIFA. But you know what? The rewatches are fun.
It's a game for a rewatch because it depends. I always say it depends how you approach the game, what you expected, and then you see something that you didn't expect, and then that's your benchmark for analysis. But sometimes the game isn't what you hoped it would be, and you just go, okay, I now have to assess it within the context that's given to us. And that's where I am. So, yeah.
I think that's actually a really brilliant starting point for this conversation, is that sometimes the game you find yourself in isn't the game you thought you'd be in. Can you adapt? Can you adjust and win the game you're in, not the game you thought you'd be in? And I think this team showed it can win a game that isn't necessarily the game it expected to be in. So before we get into the real knotty issues of the performance and individual performances, I think it is important to step outside of that and at least take a moment to start the pod with the excitement of a new season being up and running, where Liverpool get off to a win. Some of their warts, some of their cracks maybe showed. City have a pretty easy day against Wolves. You want to get that big away win on the board. And this is a place, Clive, we just routinely went to and didn't win. We've won there. It's 2 more points than we had last season in this fixture. How good did that feel when the full-time whistle went? Because for me, it was a sense of relief, but also a sense of elation.
Yeah, when the fixture list came out, we saw the big games. We got Liverpool away in a couple of weeks, and we got Newcastle away, and then City at home. When you see all those in the first 6 games, you go, okay, every point is massive. Old Trafford, we don't really win there very often, but we could really do with one. Then Liverpool come out Friday night, do their thing. Then Man City do their thing and look quite fluid again. And so I thought the pressure was building on us all weekend, and it sort of half ruined my weekend. Do you know what I mean? I tried to distract by going to watch my non-league team start at the weekend, and they didn't win neither. So I got in this game thinking, oh man, this isn't good, right? This isn't good. Right. So I had to do anything to distract myself. So I was very nervous pre-game. I was messaging Tim just like I was just talking to people. That probably annoyed me, but because the game meant a lot. It meant a lot, and so I didn't. So when I saw the players looking quite nervous and a bit strange at the start of the game, I sort of understood it because I was very much in the same place. A few players that never put a foot wrong or never looked nervous in the early phase of the game. But then we scored, right? And we scored. Was it minute 12, was it, Elliot? Minute 12 we scored? And then we have a different game, don't we? We have a different game. And so I do think it's an interesting one, but I'm so pleased that we walked out of there with 3 points. Beyond happy with that.
Yep. Mikel agreed that it was great on the importance of the result. Mikel said, quote, big result coming in the first game of the season at Old Trafford. When you feel that they are building something special, momentum with a new signing, and they want to kick on the season in a good way, and you were able to come away with the win, I'm very happy and proud of the team. And he gave an interview with NBC at full time that I thought was interesting. And he added something to that excitement about the win. He said, but it's a humble one as well, because we know in a lot of departments we've been below our standards. I love what he said right at full time as well, something that I think is really important. He said granted, he got the years wrong a little bit, in the 18, 22 years, before I was here, we didn't win at Old Trafford. Obviously, I think it was like 12 years or something, but you get the point. But he says, and we've won here today, and I go in the dressing room and the players are not happy. And I think that is a sign that you have a team that knows the job ultimately is to get 3 points and get over the line, but can also evaluate themselves honestly on what they think they're capable of. That's the hallmark of a winner, when they go into a dressing room after winning at Old Trafford and they see the ways they can improve. I think one thing I just want to ask you about the lineup and the bench and their lineup, I think the thing that struck me more than our lineup, I don't think it was hugely surprising lineup, is how strong the bench was. And we'll talk about the influence of that. But if we're going to achieve anything this season, I think it is going to depend on the group, because that's where I think we have a lot of strength. And looking at that United team on paper, it didn't really frighten me, but certainly in terms of what we could do from the bench to change the game, that's a really big advantage that we can now lean into. And you had some big players who didn't even make the match day squad. Norgard, I think, was injured. And had he been fit, I'm curious who would have been left out. But what did you make of that? Just seeing that on paper and realizing the bevy of options we have at our disposal to start games and change games.
Yeah, in this game, I felt Manchester United maybe got a touch weaker from the bench, whereas we were strong. We were as strong. You're bringing on Timber and Miles as fullbacks. I mean, they get into almost every team in the league, don't they? And we're bringing them on, and they're able to come and have an impact late in the games. Kai's obviously come back and centre forward. He's a strong player. And so we're able to make changes. I thought Mikel Merino really added something towards the end as we defended our box. He looked quite sprightly in comparison to Rice. He looked like he was having a bit of a tough day physically, which is sort of unlike him. So obviously Madueke comes on and falls into the Martinelli role, a role we don't normally see him in for Chelsea, quite deep, but still able to almost get a goal, which he would have done weren't for the deflection in front of him, and really do a job which is a team job. So if you're a coach, if you're Mikel Arteta, you've got to be like deep down really smiling, because we've recruited for this very moment, right? We've recruited for this. We've got a few exits to make. We've won the game, which we didn't win last year. We have a steeliness about us, which has been there in the past, but really stood there. We didn't do anything dumb, right? And hold on, this is good news. And also, there were so many glaring things that weren't quite right with our tiredness in possession and our ability on the transition. Mate, it doesn't take some TikTok sort of clips to sort of tell you where the issues were, right? So this is a great day, isn't it? Great day to talk from strength from 3 points, where you can say, okay, we need to clean this up, clean that up. Can we hold our width on the transition a little bit more? Blah, blah, blah. Simple stuff in it, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Yeah.
So yeah, good day for the manager, really.
Let's talk about the start a little bit. It was a bit of a slow start. And then we get a goal in the 13th minute, as you referenced, which is a nice way to cap off a slow start. In a way, it feels like the reverse of what we're used to, right? Which is we're on top of a team, we're dominating them for 20 minutes, we don't score, and then they get something with their first chance. We managed to flip the script a little bit. But the thing that struck me, I thought that the team looked palpably nervous. There were players like Saliba, for example, who were the coolest cucumbers on the pitch, just kind of giving the ball away uncharacteristically, bad-headed clearances that weren't getting anyone. We passed it 75% in this game, and I think a lot of that is a byproduct of really having an instinct to go long early, be more direct. Mikel referenced it as being more of a basketball game, which he didn't reference in a positive way, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But what do you attribute that slow start and that early sloppiness to? Is it really just as easy as there's a bit of aura about that place, and we were nervous for the big game?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to give the ball away, right? That's going to happen. And I never worry about that too much. It's about what our intentions are. And I thought our intentions were to be a little bit more vertical, shall we say. But so were Manchester United. I think they had 53 long balls in this game, where we were around 31, right? So we were trying to do the same things to each other. We're trying to win the field tilt. You know what? We didn't win it, mate. We the field tilt world champions got done, right? So we didn't own the territory, and they were trying to get us back into areas, and then we were trying to break onto them, which we had opportunities to do so, didn't quite execute. So I do think sometimes you have an idea of what you want to do, but when the game presents you something else, you got to adjust to it. And I thought we adjusted to it really well, but we didn't execute. The one concern I do have, because the transition stuff we can discuss, but I felt a few times now that we're not winning as many duels, Elliot. Do you know what I mean? And that's the one thing that I have a little imprint in my mind, that we are quite good at the duels, right? And but then I'm looking at some players winning duels. They shouldn't be winning duels, you know? So is that just a few players off colour today? But I think that gave Manchester United confidence. They were quite aggressive, quite physical with us. I did feel the referee missed a few fouls now to help us control momentum, but it doesn't matter. The trend is there. We weren't quite as duel-centric as they were. And they're at home. Big day for them. Lots of optimism. Lots of money spent in forward areas. They're going for it, right? They're going for us. They're being aggressive. The referees listen to the crowd. And we're in this game, right? This to and fro game. We sort of reduces the quality gap, and we didn't show our quality and when we did, we created chances quite quickly and easily. However, not very many big chances. But on the flip side, Manchester United didn't create any big chances themselves, right? So and so it was a game that we edged. We edged it with a level of authority, particularly around the position of maximum opportunity around the penalty spot to score. We were very aggressive there and very sensible in those areas. But we have a few regrets, left a couple on the table. But Manchester United can say the same thing. You know, that's a 1-1 draw. We could have a discussion and say, you know what, it's probably a fair result. But we dug in. And that's why I was so excited on the IR, because we showed a side of ourselves, which we know is there, but we delivered. Do you know what I mean? We delivered on it, you know, and executed and got the points.
To your point, they won 70 duels to our 53. Interestingly, despite winning more duels, they had about half the fouls, 10 fouls to our 19. And I think there is something to that I don't want to get into, because I think it goes down a tedious road, but that can influence how you're able to compete in the contest, right? And I think, you know, what epitomized that, by the way, is the very first thing that happens in the game, which is Zubamendi catching an elbow in the face. And I'm not saying that should be a red card or anything, but it's a foul. It should be a foul. They let it go. I think United really wanted to show first that they could physically compete in this game, because that was something that I would have questioned going in. I look at that midfield, I look at that group, and I think we're gonna overrun them there. And in a way, Clive, it was a game that wasn't really played in midfield, and that may be why we struggled a lot, because when the game bypasses the midfield in both directions, it's bypassing our area of greatest strength. And United went long a lot, especially to Mbumo, but Cunha got the ball in advanced areas, very direct mount. They went long. And I'm wondering what you think of that tactic and their ability to kind of make the midfield less of a contest by simply not using it.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because they're disadvantaged in there. So miss it out, right? Miss it out and try to get second phase. Go long in and wide, fast support that player, recycle into your midfielders when the numerical disadvantage doesn't really matter anymore. Second phase is high up, so we have to fold in. It makes a lot of sense, and they obviously went for it. We took a while to drop early, shall you say, to understand the drop of the ball, then win a clean header, then get second balls, then turn out and go from there. So it took a little bit of time. But like I say, the key is, Elliot, the adjustment, right? So I walked into this game with Bilbao first half hour, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh man, I can't wait to see Declan Rice drop into left back and ping it out to Saka on the right wing. See with Mendy drop into right back on occasions, timber up the pitch. Okay, it's White in this time. I can't wait for this. They're going to be so surprised. You know what I mean? Didn't happen, did it? Just didn't happen. None of that happened. Rice was back to his old left 8 role, per se. Couldn't find him with a torch, right? Just couldn't find him, not sure where he was. Zubimendi was everywhere, but I want to see Rice being a little bit closer and just a little bit around that area. So he did just enough. Odegaard said, okay, I've got to do a bit more here. So was that the plan, to him to have so many tackles and dual wins and clearances? I'm not sure, but it's what was required on the day, and he did it and was able to do it and put himself about like I've never seen before. Gyokeres was a very good exit on occasions, but none of us saw him run down the sides getting a shot. But from an exit to buy time for his team, he was really, really good. So within that context, he was good. Martinelli, auxiliary left back, okay, not the left wing we wanted, but to help allow to platform Calafiori, he was really, really good for a period until we didn't need him anymore. And so the game just goes through phases. So the idea I had post-Bilbao was not the game I saw. Not at all. So do I say, oh, this is rubbish? Or do I say, actually, we were forced to play their game. Could we be a bit cleaner to chin them? I think we could have done. But also, have to respect the opposition. You know, Mason Mount was really, really good in the day. Really, really fit. Cunha was sharp, and Mbema was sharpened to a point. You know, they had some good performances. Lenny Yoro's not a bad player. I thought Delit and Gyokeres a 50-50 battle. You know, two heavyweights going at each other. But yeah, this is the game, right? This isn't. I rate Manchester United more than you do, so I sort of suspected they were going to be half decent. But I thought we'd be a bit better, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. I don't rate them as much as you, but the thing I will say is that the strength of this team now appears to be in the quality they've added up front. And I don't even think any of them are super elite, but Cunha, Mount, Mbeumo, Sesko, those are much better options than anything they've had. And if I were Amorim, I'd look at the team and I'd say, let's just kick the ball up to them because that's our best chance. And candidly, you know, it worked okay. I think the thing that's kind of been missed in the criticism of our performance, all of which I think is valid, is I don't know that United actually ever really opened us up or did anything that was all that threatening. But they really neutralized us, I think, by taking that midfield out of the game. We're going to talk midfield a little bit more in a moment. I will read you this, though, because I think it is an interesting... Actually, let's get to it now. Then we'll get to Calafiori, since we're on the midfield already. Mikel was asked if there were more tactical wrinkles to come. And he said, today we were going to do a few things, but after the first few minutes, we saw a little bit of these adjustments, but we could not do it physically because we couldn't get there. And he also said, a lot of them were struggling to finish the game with the issues that we had.
Yes.
So interesting insights there. And look, I don't want to become... I don't want to be afraid to say players had bad games or analyze bad performances other than to just say they must have physically not been at the level, because I do think that can be a crutch or an excuse. But when you look at our midfield and you say, who's the person who can grab hold of a game like this, when it's physical, when it's going end to end, it's the guy with the engine, and that's Declan Rice. And he was pretty conspicuous in his absence. In the first half, he had fewer touches than David Raya. His running stats were down. In fact, the guys who covered the most distance in this game by a mile were Odegaard and Zubimendi. Rice nowhere near that level. So I thought that in particular was a miss for us.
Absolutely. And I know where you're going with this, because I looked at this and I thought, if someone tells me he's got a small injury or stomach upset, I would believe it, because he's the engine of the team, particularly when it's to and fro, particularly when it's a second ball game, Elliot, a collision game, which this was. So I'm watching Martin Odegaard win collisions, which I'm obviously nice to see, but I don't want him doing that, really. Do you know what I mean? I want someone else doing it and him getting a nice clean ball once he's been in the dirty water. Right, there you go. You can have that nice cleaned up, you know? So travel with it. And so, but that's the good thing. And in a team, there's been many days when Odegaard's had quiet games and Declan Rice just took over. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you're looking for as a coach. You're looking for people who understand that, you know what, I've got to do a bit more today. I've got to do something else. I've got to do something else because my guy up there is struggling a bit. So I need to do a bit for him and keep him going, keep him on the island, keep him alive to help me, but I need to go and do half of his job. And that happened in a football team. Hence why I made him sort of Odegaard my sort of stock rising, not because he had a flowing, beautiful passing, executing, shooting, assist game, but because he did all the ugly stuff, which he is not epitomised for. So yeah, let's see what happens with Rice, because I found it very interesting that he was so low, and when the first substitution was being made at it, he looks over and say, "Is it me?" And Declan Rice coming off is not something we're used to, right? And I felt he couldn't wait to get off, so something didn't feel right with him. But that no doubt come out in the next few days. But I think there's some issues there. White came off. I don't want to go down this path, but if people are struggling, we're able to change them, and that's what we did.
Yeah. And by the way, that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
What you don't do is you leave a struggling player on and just hope they can get through it. I think we have the strength there now to do that, and that is a strength of the squad, but certainly stands out when you have a player of the caliber of Declan Rice struggling to influence the game, especially just in terms of his running power. So something to keep an eye on. I think the guy who made up for it with his running was certainly Martin Odegaard. I just want to quickly ask how you balance analyzing a player in Martin Odegaard who was able to really dig deep and do the things this team needed to get a win, while also, and I'll get you some Mikel quotes to back this up a little bit as well, maybe not producing the, quote, moment of magic in the final third. Granted, he did produce one moment of magic right at the death for a Saka chance at credit to De Ligt. He gets across to block it. Otherwise, it's 2-0, and we're celebrating, a little icing on the cherry on the cake. But I think it is interesting how you look at football and how you look at what you need from a player. It is a Rorschach test in how you look at this Odegaard performance, because he had the most distance covered stats. He was among our most defensive contributions made stats. He progressed the ball well. He was dropping deep and moving it forward when we were struggling to string passes together. And without that, I don't think we get through this game. By the same token, I think there were some people that would say what we need from this player more than anything else is that little bit of a line-splitting ball at the end on the Gyokeres, or to slide that little pass into Saka. And on this day, that wasn't coming off. How do you evaluate how we get a little more of the latter, but also appreciate the importance of the former?
Yeah, well, none of our front three had 7 out of 10 games, by the way, for different reasons. Defensively, our wide men were fine. Offensively, they didn't really have sparkling days. And Gyokeres did a passable hold-up job to try to get us some breathing space. So I think what Martin Odegaard needs to do is more like games like this. He needs to do what's required on the day. So we know he can do all the pretty stuff, but what's required, can he see what's required on the day and be part of that story? And for me, that's the only thing that matters, right? If a game doesn't suit him, does he disappear? And he didn't disappear. This game didn't suit him, and he didn't disappear. This is a really big game for him, and there are other players that they weren't quite at it, right? And I'm fine, Elliot. I think I'm fine with it when we win. And it's a little bit concerning. I had a conversation with one of the patrons today, and we were talking about training periodization, really, and Arsenal where they are. And I'm totally with him. I feel as though in watching the pre-season friendlies so far, the ones that I've seen at the Emirates, I felt we'd looked a little bit stodgy, a little bit leggy on occasions, right? We're not quite at our sparkling self. And I think we're not the only team like that. But I really feel that with Arsenal. I often feel that we're quick, we're sharp, we're fit. I never have to worry about that. I'm looking at players and they're blowing, and I'm thinking maybe we're just not at peak health right now. This is maybe part of the plan. I've said it now. If you look at us last season, what you tried to fix, our injury, our robustness, our muscle power. You tried to fix that. You tried to make sure that come the key months like PSG had last year, you could pick their 11, and they played for the last 2 months of the season. They were all there, all fit, all ready, at peak health, peak condition. And we haven't been at any point in Arteta's time, have we been that team towards the last 2 months of the season? And we've been characterised by it, right? Injury to Sleeper that year. You know, we've been characterised by it. Look what happened last year. 3 hamstring operations to key players right down the spine of our team offensively. We've been characterised by this. And so if you know this, you would try to make changes. If you made changes to our training plan, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, and when you see your best athlete not looking athletic, either he's got a problem or either he's not in shape. You want him to be in shape the entire season. I just don't think he's going to be. I don't think anyone's going to be. So I'm interested to see how this develops and see what we see. But yeah, it's an interesting watch at the moment. You know, seeing one good bit, one bad bit, seeing players struggle, seeing players return, come back, recover. It's an interesting watch. You know, it's one to watch.
Yeah. Well, I think this lets us then have access to a part of the conversation that's pretty important. If we are going to try to be more direct this season at times, Clive, and if we are going to try to use Gyokeres' best qualities in particular, then I think that's a potential way to kill the horseshoe of death at times, right? Which is to be quicker getting the ball forward at changes of possession. And I do think in the first phase, we did that really well in this game. We created a number of transition opportunities. There's a video going around, and I'm going to actually do something weird with our rewatch. I'm going to start with this video because I think it's important.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. It's like a 3-minute video of transition opportunities where we were able to create the kind of space and the kind of openings that we lamented not creating last season. And Mikel talked about this, and I think it's really interesting. On decision-making in the final third, he said, quote, I think there were 7-8 situations where the ball is completely open to play through, and we are on, and we're attacking the keeper, and we give that ball away. And then it becomes a basketball game. And again, a basketball game against a team that is extremely, extremely good at finishing actions with the quality they have, that's a very difficult thing to do. That's why I talk about the reaction to that, because if you don't react in relation to that mistake quick enough, sharp enough, you have a big problem. In his NBC comments, Mikel praised a reaction to mistakes, right? He says the way we reacted to mistakes, because it was much more than usual and very uncommon to certain players. This is the interesting thing to me, Clive. You're going to have two sides of the same coin. When you create transition opportunities and you flood forward, if you get that wrong and you give the ball away, you now have players flooding towards the opposition goal who are not in position in a rest defense shape to stop the opposition from coming at you. And that's how you wind up with basketball. And so everybody who said Mikel needs, to take more risks or we need to be less risk averse, being less risk averse this is what it looks like. You're transitioning more, you get transitioned on more. I really agree with Mikel. We had 7 or 8 chances to slide that final ball in, and there was just a lack of efficiency or lack of execution in that final move. I don't think that'll be the case every day. I'm curious how you analyze those moments and that general trend, though.
Yeah, I mean, when a transition works, we all just clap and smile and say thanks for the goal. When it doesn't work,
is that how you do it? You just clap and smile. Thanks for the goal, team. Thanks for the. I've heard you sing, Clive.
I sit next to. I shake the hand of the guy next to me. What a good goal that was, and just nod my head, but when it doesn't work, we just have the memories of not working. But let's analyse what we're doing, right? So there was one in particular when Odegaard ran down the centre of the pitch. Martinelli, he's got Saka slightly to his right, quite narrow, and then Martinelli comes right inside narrow to almost create a very small arrowhead. And then there's no pass.
Odegaard was very mad at him. Very mad. Yeah. He's like, why are you coming in here? What are you doing?
Why are you coming in here? You always have, so one of my mates was always use this word, you have to retain your width. You have to, so when you're sort of like 3-on-3 or 2-on-3, what the defenders want is less space to cover. Right? So what you don't do is give them less space to cover. Do you see what I mean? It comes back to one of my, it's not very analytical shouts, but sometimes I think we're thick around the edge of the area. Once we win the ball, I do. I think we're dumb. I think we make bad decisions. Every team does, but we're better than this. We need to design this a little bit more. What we need to do, if someone's coming down the centre pitch, what do our wide men need to do? If one makes an aggressive one needs to hold his position. If one spins out, one needs to spin in. What you don't do is both spin in and reduce the space that the defenders have to cover. That's what they want. And there were times when we had people 2-on-1, but we took the man on and got done rather than move the ball. The ball will beat the man for you. If we beat that man, then we've got like a ridiculous overload. And then But the risk is, if you lose the ball, they can transition on you, and that's the problem, right? So decisions execution. No, Saka got tackled by Mount, and that's on the video. Elliot. I don't agree with that. It's a great tackle by Mount. Saka dinked inside, didn't do anything wrong. Mount read him, kicked it out for a throw. Did we butcher the position? Or did we just get well tackled by a half-decent player on the day? I accept that. That's part of football, right? You won't beat a man every single time. A couple of other ones, we spun one down to Gyokeres and maybe pushed him a bit wide. Then he hooked the crossover to the back post a little bit, little bit long. The Martinelli one, we boot it out for a throw. What are we doing there? We've got to go earlier. You're the guy who needs to let go of it and then shift position, second phase,
to get
go
on
again, get a secondary run going, get rid of it quickly and then run, change direction, go. So why are you holding it like a playmaker? These are the things that are going to need to be nailed out. We left a goal out there. This was probably a 3-1 game that we won 1-0. Based on our transition chances that we had. Why? Because Manchester United have a motorway down the middle of their pitch. When they just don't look at the game centrally, and they try to defend with their last line. They have a 3 there all the time. Sometimes a back 4 diamond. If the guy in front of the back 4 goes wandering, you're onto the back 3, sometimes back 2. Very, very quickly. And other teams will be watching that and they'll take their information from it. And let's be honest, Man United, they played Dalot instead of Ahmad, and they could have played Sesko instead of Mount. And actually, that was a nod to us and our potential, what we're going to do in midfield. But in the end, they brought Ahmad on, or quite dangerous on the right-hand side, and brought Sesko on. And I actually think that sort of killed them a little bit in a strange way, because Sesko looked like a child. He looked like a 6'5" child out there. And so it just shows you it's not easy to adapt, right? So, I'm sure we can analyse that this week on our rewatch. Some of them were dumb. Some of them were good play by Manchester United, really. So,
yeah, and I mean, look, there are things if you think Gyokeres, the best he can produce is a cross out for a throw in, like he did on 45 minutes when he's absolutely gassed. Like you're entitled to that opinion. I don't think that's the case, right? Like there were just some things that players did in this game that I don't think are representative of their overall quality. He was played in the 51st minute. He stepped on the ball and the chance went begging. This will get better. There will be finer details will be covered. There were just lots of weird things. David Raya got caught on the ball in his box and nearly gave a penalty away to Cunha. Miles Lewis-Skelly just let the ball run under his foot and got a yellow card. Yep. Yeah. I mean, just little weird moments of either nerves or lack of details on this day.
Do you want me to talk about Gyokeres, Elliot? I'm not sure if he's on your list or not.
You know what? He is very much on my list, but I'd like to get to one other player first, because I think in the running order, it was a guy I wanted to get to earlier, and 32 minutes in is too late in my mind. So let's just put Gyokeres slightly behind, because we're going to talk. We have a section on him. I want to talk about Calafiori. I think this is where you should only be so Mikel-pilled, so to speak, because whatever you think Calafiori needs to work on defensively, if you think a thing this team needs to be able to do is find new ways to hurt opposition and threaten opposition, then this is the medicine you've been looking for. I thought some of his runs were incredible. He had a run into the midfield where he played a diagonal ball to Saka between the lines, between two defenders. He creates the corner kick that leads to the goal that he scores. He had a run in behind where Martinelli has a chance, I think, to play him first time in, but he has an extra touch, plays him second time, and he's offside. But where he goes and what he does is very hard for the opposition to manage and understand. And it may leave us slightly more open. But look, we've all been saying we need to find more ways to create threat. I think he is a very, very valuable player to us. Remember how much Mikel wanted him, how important Mikel saw that signing, and we never really got to see it. He still scored some important goals last season. I think this game was largely about him and could have been more had he not gotten the yellow. I think he might have stayed on a bit longer, but in the time he was on, I think he showed the potential of what he can do to change how we attack.
Yeah, and I mean, in this game, he may have been our youngest player. I keep saying that, but he's our youngest starter, right? And what I like about him is he sort of copes in the environment, like he belongs in it. You know, he's got a real presence about him. I just like the way he feels the game, Elliot, to be honest. I don't know what's coming, but he knows what's required, and he travels into here. The problem's got to be, the coaching message is, if he's going on wandering over the hills, that's absolutely fine. But Ben White, you can't be wandering over the hills as well at the same time. So you've got to take your position of each other. You know, so I think that's really important. And Calafiori, if he sees Ben White up by the corner flag helping out Saka, then maybe you don't be so narrow. So just don't give yourself too much room to come back to, because your strengths are very much looking forward and punching forward and following your path and seeing what's happening ahead of you. Maybe your weakness is running over your shoulder at top speed. So try to reduce the risk of that weakness by just giving yourself a couple of yards. Do you see what I mean? If someone's behind, that's the only thing I would say. I would take his weaknesses all day long for what he gives, because we're lucky that we got the best centre-back in the league playing just next to him, right? So, and Gabriel, given the fact that's his first 90 since he done his hamstring, I don't know when that date was, but it feels like February time, I want to guess, against Crystal Palace. And he just rocked up, did an hour against Bilbao, and then Old Trafford next week. Thank you very much, I'm back.
And no Kiwior even on the bench, just in case. You know? It's just
Well, Mosquera has jumped that queue, hasn't he? He's jumped that queue, and he's a player, and the club have seen it. They can't hold him back. You know, he's in the squad, right? And that tells you something, doesn't it? The hierarchy's been set already within 3 weeks of his arrival. You know? So Calafiori just has something that he has a special talent for football, and we have to encourage it while reducing the risks around him. Simple as that. To be honest, if Declan Rice is on that side, Martinelli's on that side, and Gabriel's near you, he should be free. But I'm looking at the right side, not to critique Ben White. On occasions, I felt we looked a bit naked there. We're a fan, right? So we're looking at it and we're going, oh my God, we look a bit lacking in numbers. But then Zubimendi would jump in between the centre backs a lot. You know, so it reduces his ability to be the first pass out because he's already in the back line. You know, so, and Odegaard didn't have to crash in as well, which sort of compressed us, and we did it, but not really optimal for us to break out with quality and flow through the pitch. We didn't really have that quality. But hey, look, it's part of it, right? We're trying to change. I saw James Benz wrote something in it. I don't know if you saw it, but I think we sped up our directness of passing to get into the final third, etc.
The most direct we've been since Mikel arrived, basically, by a lot, by like 50% faster, more direct play in terms of the speed with which we got the ball up the pitch. 50% faster than our fastest time like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we all want, you know, to be more direct, to be more vertical. I want us to do that. I also want us, when we do have settled attack, to be more penetrative regarding our movement, you know, and we have a forward to do that. But this forward's 50% fit at the moment, right? So yeah, I think we have to be careful that we're playing to somebody or a form of football which suits somebody that's not at his optimal game yet. Do you see what I mean? Yes. And that's where we're getting caught.
Yes, and here's the other thing, though. If you're going to let, Calafiori rampage up the pitch a little bit more or whatever, and you're occasionally going to lose the ball when he's up there, your counterpressing has to be really, really good and really effective. And this is a bridge to the Gyokeres conversation, because Mikel called out Gyokeres' pressing, not in a positive way. And I think there's something that I want to discuss there about Gyokeres, the good and then the things he has to work on. So this is a good opportunity to quickly hit NordVPN, because then we can get right into the Gyokeres conversation and talk a little bit about the forward line. So very, very simple. NordVPN app, put it on your phone, you can watch everything. One of the things that drives me nuts is when someone's like, oh, you got this. This is a great quote from Mikel, or you got to see this goal video, or you have to see, and then I click on it, it says not available in your area. It's like the most annoying thing. But with Nord, I just click, tap, there, boom, it's available in my area. When I go over to England, when I'm lucky enough to go to the Emirates, I still want to be able to watch 3 p.m. kickoffs while I can, because I Nord back here and I watch my streaming service here. You can even watch, so there's a show my wife and I were watching, but the new season was out not in the US for another year, I think it was. So we just Nord over there and watch it. So really, really easy. It's an app you put on your device. It also has threat protection. So if you're on a link streaming something that maybe, put some stuff on your computer, now you don't have to worry about that as well. And you get a huge discount off your Nord plan, plus 4 months on top, and it's got a 30-day risk-free trial. So nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision, nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision, nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. Do not have done with it.
Indeed.
No, okay, Gyokeres. So let me hit you with a couple of Mikel quotes. So first of all, to the NBC crew, He said, we had to manage things, especially in the way we press a little different to him. And you could sense that, especially the amount of time we were giving to the opposition in the first half. And then he said again on Gyokeres' debut, he did a lot of very good things. You can tell, especially in our high pressing, the rhythm that we demand, especially in the first half, we're giving a bit too much time. It's something that we have to work on, especially there. And then in the finalizing situation, he didn't have that many chances to do it because, as I said on the previous action, we had to play that last ball. The line was standing still with 40 meters behind. We managed to put the ball through to exploit his quality. But overall, coming away to Manchester United, winning your first game, it's a good start. I think it's interesting that both in his main press conference and in the interview he gave to NBC, both times he made a point to talk about the pressing rhythm not being good enough. And if a team wants to hit you long early and you give them time to measure that pass, these are Premier League players who are going to find accurate long balls. So if you're going to do this, you better get your press right. And I do have to agree with Mikel that it was visibly noticeable that we weren't getting pressure on the ball in the first action of our press. And it sounds like he thinks that's something Gyokeres needs to figure out.
Yeah, and again, I didn't get the game I expected, right? Because the last game I saw, it was maybe Saka a little bit higher up in the press, Odegaard a bit deeper. We seem to go back to Odegaard being a little bit higher, and then him having to work all the way back in for the second ball. I didn't quite like our pressing shape. I didn't quite understand it. I always say this to you. This is not something that I look at religiously when I do my football stuff. I tend to look at things like the length of the pitch felt long to me. Would you agree? The pitch, we didn't look as compact. And from our shape and our lack of compactness, things then happen from there. Right?
Yeah, the distances were not the usual that I expect from Arsenal.
I've got a big TV and I couldn't see all the players on it. Mate, I told you the pitch was bigger, right? So when the pitch is bigger, we're now being asked to do different things. And we have to win those duels. We have to win those seconds. We have to fold in. And I felt we got kidded into their game a little bit. And we were just about better than them at doing it. On the Gyokeres side of things, there are different things there, Elliot. So in this game that developed, away at OT, 76,000 people there, million degrees, under a bit of pressure. I flipped the ball up to him. Bosch gets me a foul straight away. Goes down the side. Delit's chin in the dirt, eating grass from a shoulder to shoulder. That stuff is the stuff that gets the players high-fiving you. You know? Because when I was in the trenches and I needed you to give me a rest, I needed you to give me a break, I need you to show me something, not stand there and look at me. I'm on the ball. Don't look at me. I need you to move. So we got an exit pass, goes down the side, shoulders the man off, turns around, lays it back to us. I'm thinking, yes, mate, you'll do for me. Because you can do that at OT. There's only a couple more places to go. We need to show yourself like that. You know, so big tick for him. Never, when he's fitter, he'll run down the side and run past and get the shot off, right? But he's not there yet. But I'm really encouraged about what he could be. And I was worried, Elliot, most of you. You look at some of the Portuguese stuff, he's pushing aside children, right? And Otamendi's of this world, right? Who are about 38. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to go shoulder to shoulder with the heavyweight Premier League defenders. Well, there's not much heavier than Elliot, you know, and he did it. So that's a really good sign that physically he can cope, you know, definitely cope. I've seen him with my own eyes. He's quick, he's sharp. He feels like a bit of a lone pressing ranger. Do you know what I mean at the moment? Just goes when he senses. He's not working in the team construct at the moment. Obviously, fitness is a big part of his game. Repeat sprint ability, and he's not there yet. But it will come. And I'm really convinced he's going to be a really big player for us. If I could do my pre-season predictions again, I'd be edging a lot closer to where you were with him, because I think he's got something. He really has, and he's learning really quickly.
He's a player whose ability to have the season we want him to have depends a lot on what his teammates do for him. Now, you could say that's true for every striker. I actually don't think that's true for every striker. So first of all, I think you can have a striker like Kai Havertz, who his tackling and his passing and his setting up of other teammates and his link play and his focal point and his pressing can all give him a successful season. I think Gyokeres, to have the season that we want from him, needs to run early, often, in behind, a lot, whether that's from deep or from even settled possession. And his teammates have to understand how to find him with that ball. And Mikel referenced that. There were chances and we didn't. I think we will get better at that. Picking the spots when to do that and when to play through the thirds is going to be important, because if you get too eager to try to do it and you just stop playing through the thirds, you get a basketball game, you get broken play. And I think we are a team, Clive, that's better. To your point, that I could hear your voice ringing in my ears when there were a few times where we would give the ball away. It's like, just get to 5 passes.
Yeah.
Just get to 5 passes. You know, I could hear your voice ringing in my ear. And I think in this game, we did get into basketball at times. We did get into going direct, and then they go direct. And I think we are a team that sometimes needs our foot on the ball a bit and needs to. You can hate the horseshoe of death all you want. There are times I think we need to be in it a little bit to set our press, to set our positioning, to get our distances right. And in this game, we very rarely got to those 5 passes. So that's going to be a tension all season, isn't it? How to release Gyokeres' running, how to release him into those dangerous spaces. But for the people that watched him step over the ball in the 51st minute or hack across out for a throw, you know what? If you think this is a guy who can't get the last action right, I am here to tell you, I think you're going to be surprised. He will get the last action right. I think the bigger question is, will we find the right connection with him? Do you think these comments about his need to work on his pressing, do you think these comments suggest that Mikel might, I don't want to run out of patience is too loaded, but might go back to the safety blanket of Kai right away in the next game? Or do you think Mikel's going to have the patience to just let him figure it out as our starting striker for a little while?
Yeah, he's come to a new team and we have a different way of playing and different principles and different pressing instructions. He's been here 2 minutes, right? And so when a coach says that, they say it in a way where these are development opportunities and these are things that I need to work on the player with, because I could see that he didn't quite get it. That doesn't mean he's having to go at the player. He's just highlighting something that he wants from that position. That's his job, right? And he'll get that. And we are known as the best off-the-ball team in the world. We didn't really look at it in this game. You know, we didn't, you know, and that's okay to say that. And he'll fix that. We've seen us do it everywhere, right? So it's not like we can't do it. We were just a little bit off in a couple of positions. I don't put that just on Gyokeres, by the way. Let's be honest, right? Both our wide men were at it neither, Elliot. You know, that's as poor as I've seen both of them play. But within that, they still did the base job, the principles by which Mikel operates. They know what to do in this game state, and they've been here for many years. So this is this is easy for them. Yeah. Gyokeres hasn't got that base information. He hasn't got that knowledge in his head about being like I don't think he's even played at Old Trafford before, right? Maybe so. So this is a big game, right? A big day. So yeah, I'm not. In fact, I have zero worries about him. I was going to ask you a question. Do you think this was more of the way it panned out? More of a Kai game or more of a Gyokeres game?
Well, it's tough. I think it's more of a Gyokeres game, to be honest, because it did get stretched and he did have room to run into. I think as the video shows, when you rewatch it, and as Mikel said, there were 7-8 times when the execution was wrong, but the opportunity was right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is process versus outcome analysis, right? Was the process right? Yeah, Gyokeres is running behind in space. We're running in behind 3v4 or 4v3 or 5v2 or whatever it is. If you execute that, to your point, there's a 3-1 game or a 4-1 game. We didn't execute it time and time and time again. So I'm going to say process-wise, yeah, it's right. We created the scenarios to score transition goals, but we simply didn't execute them. Now, if you told me going into the game our players weren't going to be able to make a simple slid 3-yard pass to play a teammate in behind, I'd say, get Kai in there. I guess, well, I'll go back on my point in this respect. It could have been a Kai game in the sense that had we played Kai, we might have gotten more control of the game.
Yes.
It would have been less basketball, and that might have given us more comfort. But I think, that's being wise after the fact a little bit, because I know we didn't execute in transition. If you told me, Clive, going into that game yesterday, we're going to have 7 or 8 transition opportunities where we have a numerical advantage and we're running at their back line and they don't have enough players to cover back, I'd say, this could get ugly for United. Yeah. So we created those moments. We didn't execute on them. You know?
Yeah, and it's been a problem for us for a while. I mean, it's the data's been out there, really, isn't it, about the amount of high turnovers that we create and the amount of goals we score, let alone the amount of shots that we scored. It's just not high enough, right? And as watching supporters, we know all this. We just want to see more goals go in, and we work very hard to create them, particularly with our dual winning and the territory we normally own, and we don't get enough reward for the team that we are. So we don't get enough credit for the team that we are. Then we have to revert to a set piece that breaks the game open, and people have that memory of another set piece goal. Whereas we didn't have a big chance this game. So apart from the goal we scored, but we all know as Arsenal people that we can do better off the big chances that we create, particularly in turnovers. So that's something we need to do, right? We need to execute. And I'm hoping that the next signing is a little bit more intelligent, shall we say, around the edge of the box. That's their DNA. That's what they want to do. That's what they're judged on. That composure in that situation. I think we lacked a little bit of that. It's first game. It's game 1 of 60. So I'm cool with it, mate, because I've got the points and I've got all my Manchester United mates not in my WhatsApp this morning, right? So I'm really happy with it. But within that context, I think there are a few things to work on, and this is one of them for sure.
Speaking of Kaya, we'll just say something is up with him. 16. I don't know. It's funny. I used to work out quite a bit, and I think there's this thing when your muscles get a little bit bigger, you're like, I got some muscles. I want to go use some of these muscles. Like you ever see that guy who's just all muscle bound, and you just know he's looking for a chance to show it. I don't know if Kai just wants to throw his muscles around more or whatever, but like he's been very chippy all preseason, and again in this game, he wants the physical contact. He's sliding in on people and pushing people around, and there's definitely a chip on his shoulder. There's an edge to him. When he came on, you could see it again. I don't think he influenced the game much, but that's just one to keep an eye on. Clive, he seems very aggressive now.
Yeah. I thought I knew this player until, remember Newcastle away that day when he just sort of let the beast out.
Yeah.
And that's what's in there. He's a competitive animal, right? And he's committed himself to be far more robust and far more stronger and be far more of an alpha player. And I thought he came into his game at the right time, just about. And I thought he settled my nerves down a little bit, and he worked into gaps really, really nicely. And what I'd like to see is, I don't mind if Kai does that, if he does drop in, but we must retain pace in the outside areas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can transition. And we're Arsenal people, right? And we're friends here, but Saka late in game, I don't want to see him sprinting 50, 60 yards down the side. I want him out. I want that changed. Do you see what I mean? I want that changed. I don't know who that's going to be, right? So Madueke came on, and he was able to dovetail with Saka in that one chance towards the end. I quite liked his impact, really. It was a group win, right? It was a group win for the 5 subs, the finishers and the starters. Everyone played their role. In mid-August, when we're not tip-top, that's exactly what's required, and we were able to do that. And maybe the story of the day is not just what we did with with the 5 substitutes, with the 16 players involved, but it may be the 5 or 6 that didn't actually make the squad. Maybe that's the realization of what we are, what our DNA or what we're known for. We are a really strong group at the moment, and we ended last season with 3 or 4 kids on the bench. We ended last season before with 3 or 4 kids on the bench that I never liked to play for Arsenal, and that's not where you want to be, right? So it got us the point.
Saka had the Salah game, and you might be saying, Elliot, that's one of the dumber things you've ever said, and it's a long list. No, hear me out. I can bring you over to my point here. If you watch the Liverpool game, and we're going to finish the pod with just a little quick overview of what we thought of the weekend of fixtures overall, but Salah sort of ghosted in that game a bit. And then towards the end, it's still a contest. No, it's not, because he does something sensational and he scores a goal and puts the game away. This game, not much Saka. Not much Saka. Wasn't getting the ball much, wasn't executing, wasn't doing things. And then late in the game, at 1-0 when it's still nervy, pops up on the left, reverse turn, kills 2 players dead, puts the perfect ball through to the box, and Noni Madueke is right there to tap it in, but it just I think, the tiniest deflection away. Yeah. Then, a few minutes later, still nervy, only a little bit of time left, little clipped in ball on a perfect run that he makes with a little 1-2 action on Odegaard, and he's going to slam it into the roof of the net. And Delit, honestly, credit to Delit. That is a sensational bit of covering over. But he's got an assist and a goal in this game. If it weren't for the tiniest bit of intervention there. And so I think it's just a reminder that the reason you leave your elite players out there is because they can go 89 minutes of not influencing a game, and in 2 minutes they can have 2 of the most important actions in the game. I'm not worried about Saka at all. I think we should touch on Noni Madueke. I mean, the left-hand side, gosh, is anybody else bored of talking about the left-hand side? It wasn't a great Martinelli game, and that's fine. I don't know that Noni did much else. I mean, he could have had a goal there if that ball isn't taken right away from him. But Clive, the two things I'll say is it's all there for Noni Madueke to take that position because nobody else is stepping up to do it. But I also still believe that the window is open, and that's a position where if we really want to push the boat out, there's room to improve on that side for sure.
Yeah, if I'm the club executives, I'm recruitment people, I'm thinking, okay, we need to sell some people. We know the names. You can choose who you want to go. But we need to add another wide forward into this group. It's clear. And that forward needs to have a bit of movement, a bit of intelligence, and can score some goals, right? So this is somebody that adds something. For me, this is somebody that speeds us up, not slows us down, if I'm honest with you. But on another day, I might want something to slow us down and be a bit more, if we're playing against a low block, and be a bit more calm. So, but we need somebody happy in the wider spaces. And whether that's somebody that there's right and left, and you don't mind which side they play, or somebody that's pure left-sider. And so Noni Madueke goes into being more of a right-side takeout rather than a left-side first pick, right? So if that's the case, then I'm not sure that's where we want it to end up. We need to get another wide player in, which lifts the quality of the overall wide player group. That's the truth. The rest of the league is probably looking at our wide left options and thinking, I'm not sure they scare me, and I like those players, but do they scare the opposition enough? And I don't think they do at this moment in time. So I'm thinking a new addition would work there. We may need to upgrade. I'm looking at these other teams just getting rid of players, and everyone seems to be selling better than us. And we know they're building themselves, they're building their cash for a massive upgrade. And we seem to be sitting there unable to sell, not allowing us to upgrade. And this is the sporting director's job, isn't it, Elliot, to do this job now, to give us the opportunity, because I think almost every Arsenal fan wants that extra one. That extra one player. We say, right, we go to war with this lot. We're happy what we've done, but we need one more. And that's what we need to do.
Any quick thoughts on Nani's performance?
I thought he was good, but the game context was set, right? He was playing wide defender, tried to help us get out a couple of times. He looks a bit untidy on occasions. He doesn't look like a smooth athlete, but then found himself in the right corner of the area to be there for Saka. Where did that come from? So he could smell it and see it and got himself into the area and probably deserved the goal. It's great defending from there. So this game state was set. So we can't judge him as a killer white man per se, because he was being part of the unit. And I'll be honest with you, when you first mentioned this link to me, I didn't think he could do this job. Do you see what I mean? I didn't. I knew he was a flashy winger that wants to take people one-on-one and get loads of shots, and some shots go into the crowd and some shots go towards the goal. I knew that, but I didn't know he could do this. So I walk away pleased again, because we've seen a side of him. He's part of the group. People said he's off the ball plays not great. Well, he did an off the ball job. So that tells you that he's joined the group and he's willing to do what they all do, which is real positive.
One of the players that we haven't talked about yet, and it's sort of a shame because he's the man of the match, is David Raya. And I think there are things you can learn about in preseason that matter. And then there are things you see in preseason that you just over-index, and it turns out they're not as important as you may think. I know Matt Giant Gunner, for example, thinks nobody should watch preseason at all, and I disagree with him. But one of the things that I'd have to say is that I think Raya had an uneven preseason. It didn't fill a lot of people with a ton of confidence. In this game, to be fair, he does make one near error and almost gives away a penalty on Cunha, but he's also the reason we wind up with the points. Two moments that stand out: the save on Cunha down to his left from the byline shot, a punch from a free kick. It was a free kick near the corner that he's in a crowd scene and he does what Bayindir isn't able to do. Just be strong and command your area and punch it out, and that is one of the things he does really, really well. I don't know if I think Raya is the best keeper in the world, but I believe that Raya is the quality of keeper that you can win a title with. And this is another game where we have 3 points instead of 1 point, in part because of him. So I think it's worth getting your thoughts on the first actual competitive view of David Raya versus what we saw in preseason.
Yeah, he looks sharp again, doesn't he? Straight away. I think the performance of him and this type of goalkeeper is one of the biggest tactical step forwards in the game. You know, to have someone you can always go back to. We're going to have to accept that every now and again someone's going to drop it on his left side. He's going to try to, his first touch, he's trying to bring it back to his right side, which then narrows the angle because the guy's read him, and then he kicks it or doesn't quite get it right. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have to accept that. We're going back to him a lot, right? So, like he said, he has more touches than Rice did. So we're going back to him. He's a football player, right? So the problem is when he makes a mistake, we all flipping our hearts stop, right? So it's a different. If Odegaard loses the ball in centre of the pitch, we remember it, but our hearts don't stop because we've got other players to get around it, right? When he does it last line of defence, we all get worried, right? What could happen, what the outcomes could be. But yeah, he's critical to us, absolutely critical to getting that first pass out, creating the +1 at the back there. The players use him just like they would use a fullback, right? So we have to recognise that there's a risk and reward to this. But I also remember, and something I got wrong during our analysis around Ramsdale, was that sometimes he would go long when under pressure because that was a safe option, and it created a bit of to and fro. You spotted it earlier, and I thought, well, yeah, maybe on this day we needed that because of the ground we were at. But in general, the principle is right. When Raya goes long, he's targeting somebody, not just clearing his lines, and that's the difference. And I think it's a big part of who we are, because when you're a defensive team and you know that the opposition goalkeeper can hit anybody he likes on the pitch like an arrow, you are stressed. You are stressed. Trust me, I've been there. I've seen it myself. You are stressed, and he's a very important player to us. We just have to accept every now and again he's going to step on it. But that's the truth. But what I would like sometimes is to say, okay, I need to pick it up and just calm this stuff down a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's what I'd like to see. But it's easy from the city, right? He's in the fire, isn't he? So
we did get a free kick in a dangerous area on the 81st minute after Maguire fouled Kai. The ball was given right to him, and so he has to take him out. And one thing that could be a thing is that's a position where for the last 3 seasons I've seen Martin Odegaard take the free kicks. And Declan Rice took the free kick. I thought it was well struck, actually. Just takes a little nick and hits the side netting. Otherwise, maybe it sneaks into the near corner, bottom corner. But do you think basically because of what happened against Real Madrid that now we're going to see Rice take more of these free kicks? I am not someone who is down on Martin Odegaard by any means. But I do think Declan Rice should take our corners now that I've seen him stick 2 top bins against Real Madrid. And he took this one, and I thought it was well struck. So maybe something there to carry away for the rest of the season?
No, I just thought, you know what? It's a strange one, because as the angle from the TV was showing it, I'm thinking, well, we all went back to Madrid, that wall, didn't we? Our eyes went back to that. I hope Rice takes this. Well, I was thinking that anyway. And then he took it, and it got a little nick, went around the corner. But when they did the replay and they showed the wall, from the down angle, there was no gap there. You know what I mean? It looked as though there was a massive gap there. And so, it just looked strange from the TV angle. But that's fine. We want him to take the ones that suit him, and that sort of curling to the right, to that near post seems to suit him. That righty that curls across it.
Yep.
And that's it. So you want him taking it. And there'll be others that suit Odegaard, and maybe a bit closer to goal, a bit more of a dinks required. You know what I mean? And the fact you've got a left and a right, you're facing up to the free kick, means the goalkeeper's not sure what's going to happen. So he has to be conservative, maybe. So, just let that roll. I'm comfortable with it.
One other thing about just game management. I think there was something that really bothered me. A hallmark of a champion, they say sometimes, is winning ugly. I think the hallmark of a champion is being the best team in the league, personally. But you'll take winning ugly. You have to do it. Across the season, you've got to get some hard points, won ugly. And we're going to talk about performance versus result momentarily, then quickly wrap up on the weekend overall. But there was I want to say a corner kick late. And I think it was one, we took this incredibly bad, poor, short corner that winds up with Miles, and Miles lets the ball roll under his foot, and then he has to foul. And that's the stuff that has me screaming at my television. Because either keep it in the corner or, have some settled possession, but it was just such poor awareness and game management. It leads to us being under the cosh, having to defend a free kick and a yellow card for our fullback. So did that bother you like it did me, or was I just too high strung in the late stages of the game?
Probably. We were all in that state at the end of the game, weren't we? So, So when the commentator said that Gabriel and Steve didn't go forward, I'm thinking, okay, we're just trying to play out the last few minutes, right? So by keeping the ball moving, just keeping possession was the right thing to do. So he went short, then went back, and it should be back and around. That's what should happen. Go back and around to the left-hand side, and maybe dink across into the back post, but we don't really care because we've taken a minute off the clock, right? Do you see what I mean? But then to go back, Miles have a heavy touch, then plays it back, but his follow-through takes a man out because it's Miles' yellow card. I mean, it's one of those. I don't really care now. And then so we have an event again around the halfway line that results in a card, and they can stick Harry Maguire into our box off a long diagonal free kick. You think, how have we got here? Do you know what I mean? It feels like that, you know? But that's the game, right? So we managed to defend that, and it's all part of the experience, right? But they decided not to go forward, which is fine, because what happens if you cross it from a corner and you don't get the first contact and don't keep it in an area, you get countered on without our best two defenders back there. So I understand why they went short, but just look after it a bit better, really. That's it.
Yep. So I want to just quickly have a bit of a chat about performance versus result.
Mm-hmm.
In the 38th game, in the 37th game, in the 36th game, all that matters is a result. Because at that point, it doesn't matter if you're a good team, a bad team, or anything in between. You get the points, the season ends, you lift a trophy, no one cares. Early in the season, I think performances matter the most because they are indicative of whether you have the quality and capability to be the kind of team that can go win enough games to be a champion. This is the difficult thing. Nobody wants to be told after winning at Old Trafford, a place where we never play well and rarely win, that there's anything wrong at all. People want to hear a celebration, and we should celebrate. It's a fantastic, fantastic win that we desperately needed. And it's just a place that has a hoodoo over us, that has an aura that we struggle with. We've just always struggled there, whether they're good, they're bad, or indifferent. We struggle, they're up for it, and they were up for it again, and we came away with the win. The reason I think the performance does matter is that obviously, and I don't think anyone would disagree with this, if we are going to play the way we played in this game a lot this season, that will be a problem. Now, I think most of us would say we don't expect that, but that's not a performance that's indicative of a team that's going to go dominate teams and win the game. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that's how we'll play. But Clive, can you just sort of touch on the balance of being thrilled about the result, but not hand-waving the things in the game that would concern you, and led the manager himself to say there are a lot of things we need to fix and the players aren't happy. There's got to be a way to balance that and reflect on the ways in which we probably didn't achieve our tactical and performance-oriented goals in this game.
Mate, every game you play, there's something you could do better. Every single one. Right? And just every single game, there's something you could do better. There's a situation you could have managed better. There's a trend you could have managed better. There's something you could have done differently. Whether you win 5-1 or 1-0, it doesn't matter. And that's the game. If you're not looking to continuously improve, then you shouldn't be at this level, right? So for me, I was really happy with what we did while recognizing that performance wasn't quite there. But I don't think we're going to play in the next 60 games like this. I don't. So one of the things that I'm looking for really is us to get to the 2-0 a bit quicker, you know. And if we can do that, then we can play as we like, you know. And so I did feel a little bit edgy at 1-0, but I credit the opposition. They fought back really hard and aggressively at 1-0 and didn't allow us to get into that post-goal rhythm where you dominate and then maybe get the second big chance and score. I never felt that. I didn't feel that. I just felt we were sort of playing off the scraps. And that's down to what they did on the day. To rock into Old Trafford on their first home game when they don't want to lose and they've had real optimism around the ground. I read in the Athletic that they were the most optimistic fans of the Premier League clubs before the season started.
Yeah.
Right? So there's
too.
been a lot of change, a lot of good feelings around there, and we were chucked into the Lions' Den, and we got out of Dodge in time with the 3 points. I don't think we're going to play like this. But you know what? The first 20 minutes against Bilbao, or half hour against Bilbao, I didn't think we were going to play that well then. You know? And so I'm learning this new group. I'm learning about its new powers. I'm learning about its change of play. And the players seem to be learning too. I can't sit here and say that last season was sparkling and we all super enjoyed it, despite having some high moments. There were some fundamental things in the way we played that needed to be addressed with either personnel or coaching change, and we are trying to do it. So while we're trying to do it, I think the volume of the criticism, because we can all see a game, right? Everyone listening can see a game, how they felt. But does the volume of that criticism need to be at 9 or 10 when we just won at OT? No.
No, of course not.
I just don't think so.
You should extract joy from winning at Old Trafford.
You should extract joy from your football, full stop. And if your team happens to win at Manchester United, then, mate, enjoy that. Yeah. Enjoy it. And the volume should be a 3 or a 4, and it should be a discussion point. And as the sample size grows, we'll have a little bit more informed opinion. At this moment in time, we're learning. Well, I'm learning. If you know more than me, that's absolutely fine. I'm trying to learn this group. When I go to the Emirates for a competitive game at the weekend, I can learn a bit more. When we go to Anfield in a couple of weeks, we're going to know a lot more. You know, we really are going to know a lot more. Can we get to at least game 3 before we hit 9 and 10 volume on critique? I think I'm prepared to do that at least. And,
I am as well. I think it's interesting and enjoyable to analyze the areas of our performance that are ripe for improvement. I don't think it's interesting or enjoyable to be freaked out or upset at a win at Old Trafford in the first game of the season when you know we've had all summer to worry about this fixture, to worry about how we get off to start. This, I said this on the instant reaction, but I will say it again. There is every possibility we look back on this as maybe the most important defining game of our season, in the sense that we were not at our best. We were not fully baked. We were set up against a renewed enthusiasm United before the season's had time to kill off all of their hopes and dreams, when they're at full power, ready to go. And we're set up to get off to a poor start, already be behind City and Liverpool. The narratives write themselves, and we find a way to dig deep and get through it. Yeah. And we had to. The performances, of course, will need to be better. I want to talk a little bit about what variance means. The biggest reason I have for, not concern, that's not the way I want to phrase it, but for suggesting that we will need to be better. You know, sometimes we'll say variance. And what I mean by that is, on another day, they give a penalty against Saliba. Or on another day, they find a reason to chalk off the corner goal, right? On another day, when you're outshot 22-9 and you're outpossessed and you're outpassed, they cross a ball and it deflects and it goes in your net.
Yep.
The problem with playing this way isn't that we won. The problem is, if you play this way at these margins too often, there'll be plenty of days where the margins go the other way, right? Where of those 22 shots, one's a hopeful one that just happens to hit the inside of Gabriel's heel and finds the corner, or there's a fumble by the keeper, or VAR makes a bad decision. So I think what I'm trying to say, Clive, is you take these wins and you extract the joy from them, but you recognize that a performance like this opens you up to one little thing not going your way, and suddenly it's a very different kind of day. And so we will need a bit more dominance. I mean, candidly, so you ever seen these memes? I hate to bring memes into the show, but you'll understand what I mean. Where it shows the box score, right? The score of the game, and it shows the goal score for Arsenal, Calafiori, 13 minutes. And then the other side, it shows 2 United goal scorers. And it has this score 2-1 to United. And the goal scores are, we were better than them, we outshot them. Right? And it's like, we've been on the other side of those memes where we've been saying, but we won the XG battle, but we won the field tilt battle, but we outshot them. It's small consolation when you're on the other side of it. So for once, I'm going to enjoy that their manager is the one sitting there saying, well, we proved we can beat anybody by losing. Yeah. Right. And we're the ones who dug deep and found a way through. And I think it will serve us well the rest of the season, you know?
Absolutely. And Mikel was that manager being giggled at after the PSG game.
Yeah.
When statistically, up until that game, we probably had the best XG difference in the Champions League. Post that game, even though we won the XG battle in the game, but lost the game and lost the opportunity to win the European Cup, because we would have beaten Inter Milan in the final, without a doubt. And there's a massive, massive fall down from that. Amrin is probably thinking, you know what, my team did what I wanted them to do. They faced Arsenal really, really well. A good side, supposedly one of the 3 going for the championship. And we dug in there. And in some ways, there are two winners in this game. But you know what? We're sitting there thinking, well, we've won. We've got that authority now. We've won on your man. And there was a time when you win at Old Trafford, mate, you normally win the league. Right? So obviously new money's coming to the league now. It's not the case. But this was the biggest result of the season, without a doubt. Maybe that's why I was so excited yesterday, Elliot. And I was so petrified before it. I've got old man scars when it comes to Manchester United, right?
Yeah, we didn't win there last season.
Yeah, I've got old man scars, mate. And Tim was there in the 8-2. I wasn't. And I'd be more petrified if I was there for the 8-2. You know. So yeah, I look at this team differently too. Maybe you guys do, but. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with what we did. And I'm really pleased that we know we weren't great. And the word be humble about how we played. But I believe we can. I've already seen us play better than this season in a friendly. So I know what's in this team. And we're not fit yet. We're not sharp yet. Not everyone's at it yet. But we look good. I like what we're trying to be. And it's different. You know? Yeah. So let's go roll on to Leeds and see what we look like.
Look, I believe in data. I believe in things I can measure. I believe in things that my eyes can physically see. But I think I'm growing to appreciate that that's not everything in the world. There is something about Arsenal going to Old Trafford and United playing Arsenal at Old Trafford that brings out different performances from both these teams, regardless of their form. I've seen Arsene Wenger bring a very strong team to Old Trafford and Alex Ferguson start 8 defenders, right? I think it was an FA Cup tie, and come away with the win. And so you celebrate these wins at Old Trafford. You just do. They feel great. And it is that thing, right? That's why the concept of a bogey side exists. That's why rivalries exist, because they just matter. And so this is our chance to sit back. Whatever they want to say, they want to do the still shots of Saliba and Cunha coming together. They want to talk about the shot differential. We just have the 3 points. We just have them. Okay.
We were doing it.
You know, and we get to go home to our crowd after 3 points at Old Trafford to face newly promoted Leeds and hopefully show a different side of what we can be. And you know, we'll certainly be, I think, a little bit more interested in how that performance looks. I want to finish, Clive, with just your quick roundup of the weekend's fixtures. You know, our warts may have been on display in some respects against United, but it's the second weekend in a row in a I'm going to say competitive fixture for Liverpool that they threw away leads and conceded a couple of goals. And so, yes, they wind up putting some gloss on the scoreline, and I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win, but I think some of their warts were on display too. You know, and maybe Manchester City trying to deliver a message to remember that they still exist. So those are some of my thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, so Liverpool, they showed their leg, didn't they, again? And it's a very good chat with Jamie Carragher and Slot after the game, which was really good to get that sort of stuff. Where Jamie Carragher's also worried about how open we looked, and how Liverpool looked, and basically he said that to him. He was worried about it, and Slot sort of said, we want to be this team, and that sounded very Ange-like, didn't it? Mm. So when you say that when you just won the league, you can say what you like, but he literally said, "This is who we are." Oh, hold on, that's what Ange said, wasn't it?
And, we are, mate. You just forgot to say mate.
And everything's fine when you win. You can say what you like, you can do what you like. I'm telling you now, they will not play that way against us. No chance. And we will not butcher the transitions we butchered against them, because we'll be a week or two sharper. Right, so I'm thinking, please pat that at us again. Please do that, because Bournemouth have got a new back four. We haven't. We've got a good back four, So, and when we win it and get the first 3 passes together and don't get fouled, you're in a heap of trouble. A heap of trouble. Gravenberch can't fix all of that. And that's what you turn to. The key with Liverpool is to keep them under points pressure, because we didn't do that last year. So we don't even know how they cope under pressure. The one time they got a bit of pressure, the Everton game when they scored late, they didn't look so calm, right? But we were able to keep the pressure on them and the point stayed as it was, etc., etc. Let's just stay in the room with Liverpool. Man City, I didn't see that game the full 90, Elliot, but they got some smooth dude players in there. Reinders looked smooth, but Rico Lewis looked sharp. They got some nice footballers, right? And Haaland looked sprinty again. they know how to play football. The manager knows what he's doing. He knows where to get people to be. They've got wide players that want to carry and travel. But they executed really nicely. I thought the Reinders goal on the run, left foot side netting, that's a nice goal, you know? And it sort of kills the game off at 2-0 in two goals in 2 minutes. Then from there on in, it's just a passy game. And City are brilliant at that, right? So yeah, they're a good side, right? And they're going to still keep buying. And I think that last signing is going to dictate a lot of moods, shall we say. If they go big with Rodrigo and we don't do anything, then it's going to be interesting international break, mate.
I watched all of the City game, all of the Liverpool game. I think both of them looked vulnerable to quick direct attacks. To be clear, I thought we did a bit as well. But I think that I think this Premier League season and the Premier League in general is becoming a bit more. I saw, I think it was John McKenzie called it like Bundespremier or Premier League.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming more about the transitions.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think of that?
But Elliot, I had a conversation with John, and I sort of said to him, "Yep, I can see it. It's becoming a track meet, right? And people are taking a little bit from what Liverpool did, and they're recognising that defences are organised once they're settled. So don't let them settle. Go for them. You know, really be quick in the transitions and really show transitional behaviours on the first pass to go, right? So this is August, September. When it gets to the scary times, let's see if they're going to be so transitional, or let's see if they want to make sure they have settled attacks with good rest defence. Let's see what happens then, you know? At this moment in time, you should be playing to your strength, to your power. I just think our centre forward's not quite there yet, and we're not quite in tune yet. But 3 of those work. It's a 3-0 win, and we are having a different chat. You know, the outcomes are not there at the moment, but we've got time to work on that.
Yeah, I would say also about the City and Liverpool games, they may have both just played 2 of the weakest 5 defenses in the league by the end of the season. You might say Bournemouth really realize one of their center backs went to Real Madrid, one of their center backs went to PSG, one of their full backs went to Liverpool, and their keeper went to Arsenal.
Yeah.
So that's all changed. I think Wolves, first of all, I think they may have one of the worst keepers in the league, and I think defensively they're a bit shit. But they had the ball in the back of the net. They had a couple of offside goals that didn't necessarily need to be. So it'll be interesting to see how they look against teams that can be a little more organized defensively and have a little more quality at the back. You know, I had them down for big wins in these games anyway. I think Chelsea, nice to see them drop points early. I don't expect Chelsea to challenge for the title, but they have the collection of players to do it. I also think they might be looking at it and they're letting Nico Jackson go and letting Noni Madueke go, and the guys they brought in, are they any better? I don't think Gittins look particularly good against Palace. You
know? I work as someone who's a Dortmund season ticket holder, and I said about Jamie Gittins a little while ago, and she said to me, "Clive, just bring your money. You can take him." And I thought,
all right,
I'm going to stop watching them clips.
That's what I like to hear.
And then Chelsea went and paid the money and gave us Madueke, and that's what they do. They turn players around. Right? I think they spent 250 this window, but they've sold about 230. But they did spend like $1 billion beforehand to have this base from which they can now trade from. You know, there are people better with numbers than me, but it's interesting that everyone's giving them praise for selling. Well, hold on a minute, they spent a lot in the first place, so they've got a lot of talent, man. I'm sure we'll be back there. I'm afraid to go and buy more players, and that's the way of the West, because they're trialing them in front of our eyes and accommodating them to the Premier League. So we'll be back.
Newcastle and Villa played out a desperately poor 0-0 draw. Villa were down to 10 men for a good chunk of that.
There was one Newcastle chance in the game, and it sort of hit the top of Anthony Gordon's head in the 6-yard box, and you're just thinking he couldn't quite reach it. And he just went over the bar. You're thinking if Isak's there, he just headed that down into the bottom corner. They just walk away with a 1-0 win. Everyone's singing his name. But football, eh? Will he be back there ever again? I don't know.
I wouldn't think so, but we will certainly find out. And then, Granit Xhaka, all he does is win Premier League games. You must think this is the easiest league in the world. Getting a win on his debut.
Yeah, that's the story of the weekend, isn't it? About what they did, and obviously with the promoted teams going down 2 years on the trot, there's been a lot of money spent in some of these teams, and they've reconfigured, particularly Leeds and Sunderland. So in some ways, there are a lot of people rooting for one of them not to disappear. Do you know? And I think it's important. I think it really is.
Watch this space too on Tottenham. I realized that they wound up with a relatively big win, but they were not closing the back door particularly well. They were under the cosh against Burnley for a good stretch of the first half and early second half until Burnley finally collapsed. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. It's going to be a fun season. Look, any season where Arsenal wins the title is a fun season. That's obviously what's going to happen. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of fun analyzing it. We'll have a rewatch video, our first of the season, probably tomorrow, although Clive and I will discuss that offline. We will have a main pod for you on Thursday. Tim and I are queuing up a fun patron pod on Wednesday. And then, maybe there'll be a Friday night Clive and we get to play Leeds at the weekend, and a 10-0 is going to smooth everything out. So don't worry about that, Clive.
I'm happy.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
My name's Elliot Smith. We love you. And we will absolutely talk to you after Arsenal 10 Leeds 0.